Welcome back, F1 fans, here on Hitting the Apex. We've got a slow week ahead of us before we get right back to racing in a couple of weeks. But we've got some interesting news coming out of the world of Formula One, with some drivers still figuring out what seats they're going to be on. And, of course, the 2023 calendar just popped off. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Make sure you guys tune in. It's Hitting the Apex. Lights out. Let's go. And good evening, my friends. Welcome back to Hitting the Apex here on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. We are short of man. We're man down today, or short of woman, excuse me, as Moni is doing much more important things like covering.
I don't know, Jazz. What's this United Nations nonsense? Yeah, this doesn't sound important at all.
Does that even matter? United Nations.
Sounds very, very made up.
Now, next week, if she doesn't show up because of the Latin billboards, then we'll be like, oh, that's crap.
It's Miami. That's more important than the United Nations.
What's going on, man? Talk to me. How you doing? We got another week before we start back up. I feel like it's been like a month since they race.
And they do all these races in a row now. It's like when you get a week without a race, which used to be normal. You know, now it's crazy. No, I'm doing all right. Doing all right. My kickball team dominated last night, like Mercedes without Michael Massey cheating, so that was good. We showed up with more players than the other team and then read the rules. So we do the technical regulations and we took advantage. So it was very Mercedes victory.
That's very interesting. I like it though. I like it. All right. I gotta get into that. Look at Fern. Fern wants to fill in for Moni. Hey, listen, we might have to do like a fan fill in, right? That'd be kind of cool. Fan fill in.
It sounds like a good off season activity. We're just pulling. The two people that are in the chat right now are definitely our biggest fans. So
no kidding.
We'll pull them in.
I'm a 2-time kickball champ. All right, Fern.
So this was our first time, and it was like glow in the dark kickball because it was outside. We played in front of the Washington Monument. You can't beat that.
That's cool, man. You gotta take pictures of that and send it to me next time.
Well, you can't see shit, so there's not gonna be many pictures.
What do you mean? You can see the glow in the dark ball.
Yeah, well, that's why you gotta. So you gotta like hit the ball before you roll it, so that it lights up. And then it'll go out after and then when you kick it, like the power is what turns the light on. So
gotcha.
But yeah, you can't really see the bases very well. There's cones, but
this is F1 talk at its finest.
Anyway, yes, exactly. Well, it's an off week. There's no race to review and there's no race to preview. So it's all low kickball, especially when we got a champion in the house. So
that's right, baby. Let's give a shout out to our sponsor before we get things going here. We'll talk about U-Brake Wheel Fix real quick. U-Brake Wheel Fix repairs damaged wheels from curb rash, cracks, or bends, all under one roof with in-house powder coating, CNC machining, and polishing. They also offer new custom wheels and tires from your favorite brands such as Vossen, Ford Giotto, Fuel Off-Road, and more. They now even offer no credit check financing up to $5,000 for a new set of wheels. What's cool about it is that they also have fast turnaround times on all repairs, and they even provide loaner wheels in many cases. U-Brake Wheel Fix is your total automotive wheel solution located in North Miami, right off of Biscayne Boulevard and Northeast 146th Street. Check out some of their great work across all social media platforms from Instagram to Facebook. It's at U-Brake Wheel Fix. So the letter U, brake, wheel, like a wheel, fix. At U-Brake Wheel Fix or online at ubrakewheelfix.com. You can even give them a call, 305-748-0112. Again, that's 305-748-0112. And schedule your appointment today. U-Brake Wheel Fix, changing the way you see wheels. So as we mentioned, a slow week in Formula One, but still a lot of news out there. First things first is the 2023 calendar is out now. So, actually, before we get to that, let's run through the standings real quick, Vish, on the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors. At this point, Vish, I think it's Red Bull's running away.
I think Verstappen might win. I'm not sure.
Listen, technically, Leclerc could still win if he scores.
Keep hope alive, Jazz. Keep hope alive.
listen to this though, right? Okay, so if he wins every race and he gets those extra points with the fastest times, and Verstappen doesn't finish any higher than P7 in any of the last remaining races, we got a shot, right? So
is that even enough? Because
yeah,
Verstappen
that
only needs
is.
24 points.
I read somewhere that was enough.
I feel like I don't think Leclerc.
How many points does P7 get? How many points do you get for
I
P7?
don't have this stuff memorized. I don't know. Handful.
I think it's 6. I actually think it's
Okay.
6. So I think I could be wrong, but or 5, something like that. But anyways, that'd be kind of funny though, right? If something like that happens. But obviously, I mean that's.
Well, I mean, so to be realistic, is Leclerc even going to get to like? So one thing that has happened, this was 20 years ago, is Schumacher was actually this was early in the season, so it wasn't nearly this far along, but he got into an accident and broke his leg, and he couldn't race, and so you're just frozen. I don't think even if something like that happened, Leclerc could get to 335. So someone else will win a race too or something, and he won't get maximum points in every race.
Now you're gonna hear all the Ferrari fans break his leg.
You need Tanya Harding out there. Yeah. That's a modern reference.
Yeah, it is. There you go. Oh man, yeah, it's gonna be.
But while I was referencing Schumacher breaking his leg, I just went with that era.
So if he needs 24, it would get him to 359, right? Is that right?
Yeah, and Leclerc. Well, he needs 24 more than Leclerc. Yeah, what Fernie's saying. At the next race, he needs to outscore Leclerc by 24, which, given the way the point structure works, that basically means win the race and Leclerc DNF essentially.
Right. Which I hope that I hope we've gotten past that, but they seem to be driving. Look, let's be honest, right? Before we even get to it, so the world championship, the constructors. Not much more different, right? I think it's Red Bull running away with it.
Well, there are some. I mean, it is pretty tight, between 2 and 5.
Right.
Hamilton's probably a little bit too far back to get involved in that, just because 19 points when you're not finishing in the top is a lot. Right. But so I guess how do you see the 2 to 5 shaking out over these last few races?
Yeah, look, the biggest issue with me is that Perez is Checo's struggling, man. He's struggling right now. He's had a couple of races where, he just doesn't look competitive enough to get into not only to get into the podium, but to really help Verstappen in this, right? It's all Max at this point with Red Bull. So I think that's going to be the biggest factor. Can Russell continue to be, consistent? I guess is the word for Russell.
I'd say lucky, but
lucky consistent. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt on a couple of races.
No benefit.
Okay, all right, never mind. But I think that's going to be the deciding factor for me is if Checo can, kind of turn it around a little bit.
So you think Checo can actually get up to second and finish second?
I don't know.
Think so.
I don't know. I don't think so. That's what I'm saying. Like he's struggling a lot right now. Leclerc's starting to pick it up a little bit. Let's be honest, right? He's starting to race again a little bit better, and I think he's gaining a little more confidence in the car again. So that bodes well for him.
Yeah, in my mind, Checo needs to be to finish second. He needs to be ahead of Leclerc at this point because the rest of the circuits are not these power high speed circuits that Red Bull's better at, and he blew the tracks where he should have made up ground. So now that 9 points is a lot. When I think Leclerc will outscore him. So I kind of feel like.
And I think overall, like Leclerc is probably the second best driver on this grid for this season.
Yeah. So he should finish second.
Absolutely. Russell and Sainz. Look, Sainz is starting. Obviously, you're seeing.
Sainz is 16 points back.
Yeah, he's been driving better as well. I don't think he's going to get to second, obviously, but could he get into third or fourth? Realistically, there's an opportunity. Absolutely, if he continues to drive well and the Ferraris. Stay consistent, stay reliable, right?
Yeah, I think he's got a shot at getting all the way up to third, just because, like you said, Checo's been struggling,
right?
And Russell is not quick, so Sainz can consistently beat him. Now the question is, how many seconds can he win a race to put a bunch of points? Because Russell will finish 4th, 5th, 6th pretty consistently. So Sainz finishing second or third is not gonna give him that many points. So, but Sainz is fast enough to actually win races. So
I miss what Jack said there about that second seat will always be a talking point of Red Bull. Yeah, we're always talking about it now. That's for sure. So I can definitely see that.
Well, let's be real. we want to talk about the championship race, but
we do
the point margin. So then you look here, it's like there's your talking point. So
that at least we have something to talk about.
That is what has happened here.
Yeah,
2 through 5 is tight. 1 to 2 is not. So we're talking about the rest of this. So yeah, I think it'll pretty much be what it is. Right. Sainz might get in front of Russell.
Yeah, Checo's gonna really. I mean, he's only 7 points behind. Russell's only 7 points behind Checo. So if Checo has another bad,
but Russell's cool though, so it doesn't matter. Like he's not.
Yeah, I know. I think that
the other
out of those three, who would you say is the best driver? Sainz, right? You say Sainz is the best driver out of those three.
Perez, Checo, and Sainz. Yeah. I mean Russell and Sainz. Yeah,
right. Yeah, right.
So I'd say Sainz is the best driver. Checo probably has the best car. The other thing you got to figure though, I know he's in 6, and I think he'll probably end up in 6. But Hamilton's faster than Russell, has been consistently that way most of the season.
Right.
Russell's ahead on points because of reliability, safety car luck, things like that. Like when they go racing now, assuming that it's not like Monza where Hamilton's taking engine penalties going to the back, I kind of expect him to finish in front of Russell.
Right.
So even though Russell, I think, will finish ahead of Hamilton in the championship, this means he's going to finish ahead of him in these races. So that's like another person that, probably won't finish ahead of Sainz or Checo if they're driving well because their car is faster. That could finish ahead of Russell. So you might get a little gap there.
Right. Are you surprised, right? Are you surprised that Lando's in 7th right now? Because, obviously, we know that Alpine has kind of dominated the midfield all year. Well, and I know they're right behind them, right? 8th and 9th. I get that. But, are you surprised that Norris is 7th and not the Alpines, one of the Alpines?
No, because the reason is this. This guy sucks. And and that's why McLaren is not going to finish 4th in the constructors, because Norris is not only ahead of the Alpines, he's significantly ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, 22 points when you start getting that far down the grid is a lot of points. And it doesn't matter for constructors because Russell is sitting there on 19.
Right.
I mean, you could take Ricardo. Just so used to criticizing Russell, I just went with it. I mean, you could take Ricardo's points and add them to Ocon, and it still wouldn't catch up to Norris. Ricardo's basically been a non-entity, and that's why it's Norris against 2 drivers.
He's definitely hurt McLaren.
No, he's been terrible. That's why he got fired, and that's why he's not getting picked up. They can all be like, "Oh, it's so sad. He's so friendly," but no one wants him to drive their car, do they?
Yeah, I know. That's true. Haas should just take him. What the hell? Anyways, and then the Constructors Championship is kind of running away with that also with Red Bull, Ferrari. It's Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, and then Alpine, if I'm not mistaken, ahead of McLaren right now. So, yeah, there it is. Yeah, this is another one where I think that two and it's really 2 and 3, right, at this point. But
I feel like that's probably done though.
Yeah, I think it's kind of done too. As long as they don't completely,
it would take some DNFs because again, I still think. Yeah. I mean, dude, Vettel's dropping at Aston Martin. If Lance Stroll was up there in the top 5, then Vettel would be getting crap for it. He's outscoring his teammate.
But okay, so just to kind of
let's go back
on your side. Let's go back
to the drivers. Yeah.
Jack, okay, how about this, Jack? Vettel hasn't been good either. He's been bad also. He's been terrible.
No, see,
Lance Stroll sucks.
Yeah, so, that's kind of where my issue is there. If you look at these standings, Stroll is down here, right? So Vettel's beating his teammate by 15 points. That's why he's not getting crap for it. The car is terrible. Right. But when you look at, Ricardo is by far the biggest teammate to teammate gap here. Look at this. Not just in terms of 7th to 14th, but the point differential. That's unacceptable.
Yeah,
that's why he's getting crap for it.
Yeah, and Bottas is not getting any help from Zhou, which you're starting to hear rumors that Zhou's only on a 1-year deal anyway, so that's going to be interesting to see what happens with that Alfa Romeo seat also after this season. So
they beat Stroll, and we should mention that somehow Latifi is in 21st to the 20 team championship.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Look at Nick DeVries. Well, okay, so let's talk about that, right? Let's kind of get into
just a second. I want to talk to
what's
Jack. So I
Go
think
ahead. You know what? Go talk to Jack. Yeah.
Vettel would get trashed if the car was better. No one gets trashed when you blow your teammate away. I mean, that's the reality of it. That car and Vettel's been. I agree with Jack. He's been awful, really, since he retired. Like, yeah, he's been tooling around at the back, but Stroll's not doing any better. But I feel like Vettel already retired when he made the announcement and is just in the car for fun now because he's not really driving it. So that's a fair criticism. But the reality is he's outperforming his teammates significantly. So no one ever really gets criticized in those situations. Just like, I mean, Albon's sitting on 4 points and it was like, what a great job. And he gets, because Latifi's his teammate. So yeah, Vettel might be doing terribly, but fortunately he's got the owner's son as his teammate, and that guy sucks, so he looks good in comparison. Albon's getting the same benefit, right? Latifi shouldn't be driving. He is. So, I mean, De Vries already scored 2 points.
Yeah, in one
race. Like, maybe if De Vries was in the car the whole year, he'd have 15, and we'd be like, Albon's actually not good. Instead of getting praise, right? So your teammate dictates a lot of that, and Vettel is, I don't think he's protected because people like him and because he's retiring. I think he's protected because Stroll sucks. So I agree with him. Like, he doesn't get criticism that his performance might warrant, but that's because his teammate is bad and they're in the same car. And you always go look at the teammates. And if there's a point gap between the teammates, you're like, well, the guy doing better must be doing well. And Jazz is on mute. So we'll just, I'm assuming the next thing we're going to talk about is
I'm back.
Is who's going to be in what car.
That, Aston Martin sucks. Anyways, yeah, so right, like naturally that's what we got to talk about now because well, we'll talk about the race calendar after. Yeah, let's talk about what's going on with these who's going to be in what car. And you mentioned it, right? You kind of talked about it already. De Vries, doing really well in that Williams, obviously getting the points a couple weeks ago. This is tricky because there's so many things kind of going on with so many different teams here. That could De Vries land here? Could Gasly go here? Could De Vries go here or here? It all depends a lot on what Pierre Gasly does, right? So talk to me a little bit, Vish, about that because I guess we can kind of get into this. What your thoughts are? Is De Vries going to AlphaTauri? Is Gasly going to Alpine? Or does De Vries go to Alpine if AlphaTauri does not release Gasly? Or not release him, but if Gasly does decide not to go, or is it just this is Williams, right? It's it's Williams for De Vries, no matter what. Like, what are your thoughts on what happens?
Yeah, so there's basically 3 options De Vries apparently has now. One is you can take Williams right now; they'll take him, they'll toss Latifi out on his ass, and he'll be the driver next year. So that's like locked in. He can probably get the AlphaTauri seat. That's not guaranteed, but he can probably get it. If he gets it, it would be because Gasly is going to Alpine and AlphaTauri is letting Gasly go to Alpine to put De Vries in the seat because AlphaTauri is holding Gasly back. Alpine apparently wants him. He wants to go there, but he's under contract. And they'll only release him for certain drivers, one of which was obviously Colton Herta, who's now it's not happening. So apparently De Vries is another one. Now here's the interesting situation. Alpine is also interested in De Vries as kind of a backup option if they can't get Gasly. So the question is, if you're De Vries,
he's the hot commodity, man.
Yeah, just one race, get some points.
I know, it's crazy.
Finish 10 spots out of Latifi or whatever. Here's all your contracts.
He also looked good in those practices, right?
He's been talented for a while. So I mean, he's 28. So
he's not that young. He looks like he's 12, but he's not.
Yeah, he's 28. So what do you do if you're De Vries? So your options are: you can take Williams, bird in hand, 100%. You can probably get AlphaTauri. But if you don't take AlphaTauri, they probably keep Gasly, which means you can get Alpine. Do you risk? Well, what do you do? So you take a risk, right?
Right.
If you take AlphaTauri, that means that you obviously landed it, which means Gasly goes to Alpine, so you're in the AlphaTauri.
Right.
If you take the risk and say, no, I'm not going to sign with AlphaTauri, then they might not release Gasly, which means you can go to Alpine, which is a better car.
Well, here's my thing, right? Like you said it, Alpine's a better car, right? So is it all contingent on if Gasly decides he wants to go to Alpine, or can De Vries right now be like, I want to sign with Alpine right now? Well, I don't know. Well, he's under contract with Mercedes, right? It's De Vries.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I don't know how that works really.
But he can go anywhere. He's not. Okay. He's not contracting any of the teams.
Gotcha. So, or is it all based off of what Gasly does? Because if Gasly waits too long,
this is the catch-22 for De Vries.
Yeah.
AlphaTauri will not release Gasly unless they get a driver they want. Now they want him. So the way Gasly moves, if he takes that seat, if he doesn't take that seat, then AlphaTauri won't release Gasly, which means he could potentially get the Alpine seat. But if he doesn't take AlphaTauri, and then so they keep Gasly, and then Alpine signs someone else, he's SOL, and he's not gonna have a seat at all.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Do you risk it to go to Alpine?
Look, I think at this point, you're 28 years old, man. You're not 22, 23, 20, even 24, right? Like at this point, I think you'd risk it to get in the better car. That's just my thoughts. I know it's tough to risk it, but I think you need to get in the better car and need to be able to compete. And quite possibly maybe in the next year or two, maybe one of these big seats opens up. Maybe a Red Bull opens up, right? And if you're kicking ass in Alpine, there's an opportunity for you to go and compete with them, or something happens with Ferrari, whatever it is, right? Like, or Mercedes, who knows? Listen, Lewis is not going to race forever, right? So there's a lot of things that could go there, and I think that if you want to. Again, you're 28 years old. I think you need to take the risk and maybe go after Alpine and race with them. Now you've got a nice lineup there. I mean, okay, and I say a nice lineup because we saw what De Vries did in that Williams in one race, and we saw what he's done in practice. He's a talented driver. I think that it could be one hell of a lineup with him and Ocon and Alpine. It's nothing's for certain because we've seen talented drivers get into a car and they absolutely stink in it, right? So. But that's the risk you have to take, right? If you're a talented driver, you got a better car in the Alpine. Take the risk and go to and try to get an Alpine. What's your thought? What do you think? What would you do?
Yeah, it's a tough one. To your point, his age to me is a big factor. Like he doesn't have time to go sit. I actually agree with what Fernie said. There is kind of the whole option of he can try to get into the Alpine if it falls through and he can't get AlphaTauri. I think Williams will still be there for him.
True.
Because Williams is waiting for the F2 season to end to see if they can get Logan Sargent, which is another thing I think we're going to talk about. But he needs to finish the season to get the points. So right. De Vries got plenty of time.
And by the way, we've seen a driver in the Williams, drive for Mercedes, right? So that's not a terrible fallback.
At 28 though, like toiling in the back of the grid is tough. And then if you're at AlphaTauri, potentially when Checo gets fired after next year, you can go to Red Bull.
That's true.
So that's the trade-off, but Alpine would give him a better car next year.
It's
I actually agree with you. So I was kind of on the fence there. I would hold out for Alpine. The reason I do that is if your best case scenario realistically at AlphaTauri is Max Verstappen's teammate a few years from now, that's a dead end anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe, I know this is a long shot, but Alpine is their own constructor. They're Renault. Right. They're the largest car manufacturer in the world. They have a ton of money. Doesn't look promising that they're going to actually deliver a winning car, but they certainly have the resources behind it.
Right.
They have their own engine. If they develop it better than the other engine suppliers from here, you could potentially – you're the only ones with that engine. There might be an opportunity to win races there. Which I guess at Red Bull, if you eventually, a year or two down the line, move to the senior team from AlphaTauri, you'll obviously have a chance to win races, but you're going to beat Max's. I'm not going to say the B word because I'm trying to keep it clean here, but everyone knows what the second driver of Red Bull is, more so than any other team.
Right.
All the other teams we don't play favorites. Red Bull's we play favorites. Max is number one. So
rightfully so.
Yeah, but no, because I don't. Is it? Mercedes never did that to Bottas.
No. I mean, it's rightfully so is that he is the number one driver, right? Like, yeah. Fernie,
I'm not sharing any of those comments, but appreciate that you could pick up on it. I wasn't exactly being subtle.
What's up, Evan? What's going on, brother? Thanks for checking in with us, man. We appreciate it.
And thanks for breaking up the profanity in the chat too. So
yeah. By the way, I need to hear back from you, Evan. I haven't heard back from you. Give me a shout. Freddie mentioned something before he got nasty on the chat. He would be the number one at AlphaTauri. Is he the number one at Alpine? He could be, right? I think it's still. I think we all know Ocon is a hell of a driver. He's a very good driver, but listen, oh Jack,
there you go.
but if De Vries is competitive and he shows up and he's constantly higher in the polls, when they do qualifying, or he's competing and he's able to not win some races, but kind of, like be really competitive, and he's driving better than Ocon in a couple races. Why not? Why can't he be the number one driver? Again, he's not 24 years old. He's a 28-year-old guy already, so why not? I can see him definitely being the number one driver.
But they also, Alpine does not really like, favor one driver over the other.
Sure.
And if he thinks he's actually worth it stuff, he should be like, I can beat Ocon. So I wouldn't really worry about it. I mean, right now, Alonso's supposedly the number one driver. Ocon's beating him. So
exactly. I don't think it matters.
Alpine's not a team that kind of favors one driver over the other. So I don't think that'll be an issue. And I mean, what the number one driver at AlphaTauri is really the number 3 driver at Red Bull. So
yeah.
So it's not, to me, that's the one team where I don't think it, where it would be because the whole goal of everyone in the AlphaTauri team is just trying to get up to Red Bull and be the number 2. So
right. I want to mention this really quick before that. Evan writes a Discord link for Fernie and Jack. We've put it up before. Evan, if you've got the link, go ahead and post it. I'll look for it. If not, but if someone's got the link for that Discord, Vish, I don't know if you have it readily available.
I don't.
It's tough. It's on my phone, so we'll post it. But Evan, if you have it, go ahead and post it here. Jack and Fern, we'd love to have you there so we can start talking some trash, because it's really only a couple of us right now. So let's get that up and running there, and we'll get some more people on that Discord. Post that link so any of the F1 fans, and we'll post it on Twitter and all that stuff as well. I don't think so. Jack, who's he talking about here? I don't think he will be the clear number one. Is he talking about De Vries? That will change as soon as there's a clear leader in the points between the two drivers. If you're talking about De Vries, yeah, he's not a clear number one. I don't think he would be until that happens, right? If there's a clear leader, then you start kind of going to who the number one is.
I think the expectation would be that he could, beat Yuki. So I think that's where that's coming from.
Yeah, you can, Vish, go ahead and chat a little bit while.
Yeah. So I guess the other kind of we can pivot maybe to the next topic, and I'll introduce it. So, assuming that De Vries does not go to Williams, we potentially could have an American driver on the grid. So I guess we never really closed off the Colton Herta stuff, but he's not going to get his approval to like his exception to the super license. And actually he did an interview about it. It was pretty interesting. He did talk about, how he didn't want an exception, which is sign number 1. He's about to get rejected for one. And then he did ask him, why don't you go to do, because the Asian calendar is kind of reversed from the rest of the calendar. So there's an Asian Formula 3000, I think, series, which has super license points, and he goes and does it and does well there. He would get enough points. And his response was, I think, correct, which is, look, IndyCar is a senior series. I do well there. It's not respected enough by the super license system. Why do I have to go to a junior series now to get points when I've been racing in a senior one for 4 years? Which is true. Now, the problem he has is IndyCar is pretty packed in there. Like it's not like F1 where if you get in one of the top teams, you really blow the field away. And his car sucks. So his chance to like win IndyCar next year to get enough points to get to Formula One is not high. Like he finished 9th this year and drove well. So I don't know. And they asked him, what happens if you don't ever get into Formula One? He said, I'm okay with that. So that's kind of where he's at. So, but then he was the American hope until the next American hope. So Logan Sargent has been dominating on the F2 calendar. Now, assuming that De Vries goes to AlphaTauri or Alpine, which is not Williams, they're kind of holding Latifi's seat open for Logan Sargent. So the problem with him is, again, super license also. His is a little different in that he's in F2, and as long as he finishes in the top 5, which he's currently in 3rd at the end of the season, he'll have enough points. Now it's very tight in standings.
Duhan?
No, this is Logan Sargent.
Oh, Logan Sargent. Okay, got
yeah. It. So this is assuming he's in 3rd right now. If he finishes top 5, he'll have enough points for a super license for F1, and Williams will take him as long as they don't have De Vries.
Right.
So they're waiting for the end of the F2 season.
What about Haas? I know you mentioned Haas a little bit. Is Haas looking? Are they still looking at more than likely? Are they going to go with Hulkenberg or Giovinazzi? You think are those the top 2 right now?
Those are the rumors. They're being very weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what their plan is.
Yeah, it's kind of weird over there.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing over there.
They don't have money, so I don't know what the hell's going on.
But I don't understand what the purpose. It's hilarious that the driver they subbed in like a couple of weeks before the season started is locked in, ready to go. They haven't fired Mick yet.
Yeah.
And they don't really have a good replacement. They're talking about like Giovinazzi and Hulkenberg are retreads. So
right. I'm not saying they're terrible drivers. They're not terrible
no, they're
drivers.
Fine. They're fine. Especially Hulkenberg's pretty talented, but
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do there. So yeah, those are the rumors. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know what the plan is. Like, to me, those don't move the needle. They're not exciting young drivers. They're not going to win you races or something like that. Like, I don't understand what the strategy is.
I think you need a big personality at Haas to kind of match Gunther, because Gunther is in the background, right? So you're not going to see Gunther all the time unless you're watching Drive to Survive. That's different, right? But I'm talking about normally you need a bigger personality there, and I know they don't want Danny Ricciardo because he hasn't been racing well, and a lot of people don't want him. But like, that's the type of guy you need there.
Well, my question is, do you think they actually just wouldn't? So there's multiple. Like, I'm assuming he's probably too expensive. Yeah. But assuming like I can't imagine that they wouldn't take him if he was actually like a viable option. I think he's just not. I think he's probably too expensive.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, because he's still a better driver. I know he's had a crappy year.
I don't even know that he's a better driver, but to your point, they would do it for the marketing. He's popular.
Yeah,
it's attention.
Yeah.
It's the second seat in a mid to back of field team.
Right.
Like, if you can get someone that has a reputation, like, why do you think? I mean, seriously, how is it for Fernando Alonso's not even good anymore? He's there for the attention. Like, what is Aston Martin doing? They got Stroll, who can't drive in one car, and they brought in Alonso's corpse. The car sucks. We know how Alonso behaves when the car isn't.
It's so weird, yeah.
I mean, he's going to demean the entire team. Like, this is going to be a disaster.
How long did he sign for?
2 years, I think, or 2 or 3 years.
Oh, that's going to be the worst 2 years.
Yeah, no, that was what Alpine would only give him a 1-year contract, so he.
That's right. I love this Tap and Jack and what you mentioned, Andretti. I want them to get in. I think that'll be so great for America, right? For the U.S. as to kind of really get in an American icon there into the sport. I think that would be awesome. But I don't know how realistic it is.
I mean,
now.
if we're keeping it real, they should make Red Bull sell AlphaTauri, and he should buy it.
Yeah,
because they should not have 2 cars on the grid.
AlphaTauri sucks anyways, because they don't care about AlphaTauri.
No, it's just it's a playground for Red Bull. It's for them to test out drivers they want to put in the big car, use as strategy pawns.
Right.
Allegedly.
It is
allegedly. But there's certainly like some sharing going on there that they benefit from, and they're willing to have it. But no, that's what I can't imagine Andretti and Haas will ever team up.
Yeah,
they're competitors. So that'd be a weird one. But I mean, there's a lot of resistance to Andretti coming in.
Right.
Certainly as an 11th team, because it just splits the pie 11 ways. So he'd have to So there is revenue sharing. They're sharing money across the 10 teams. So in order to justify it, he would have to make an argument that the amount of extra money they would get would then offset dividing by 11 instead of 10. And that is a lot of money he would have to somehow guarantee they're bringing in, which...
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
But if he buys an existing team and really, like, Williams is actually not Williams anymore. It's owned by like a venture capital fund. So maybe you could buy that because if they make money off of it, maybe they'll sell it. But I think he's going to have to buy a team to get it.
Yeah, but are they going to want to? I mean, the Williams is an iconic name, so like there you're going to have an issue if you want to change the name to Andretti.
I mean, you could call it. He would probably. Knowing him, he'd probably call it Williams Andretti Racing or something.
Okay.
And then eventually they drop the Williams and no one even noticed, frankly. It's what
that's I don't know, man. I don't know if I like that, but I get it. I understand it.
But I think that would be his way in.
Right.
So
but he's getting a lot of pushback, so I don't know how.
Yeah, well, that's why he's getting pushback because no one wants the. So F1 allows up to 12 teams. Right. So there are two empty slots apparently. There are two empty slots, but the other teams don't want those filled. Because instead of dividing by 10, the revenue pie, you're dividing by 11 or then 12. If there's right. Yeah, well, no, it cuts your share.
Right.
So if your piece is smaller, think about pizza. If you cut it into more slices, the slices are each smaller. So they're like, you have to make the pizza bigger so that even though I'm cutting an extra slice out, my slice is still bigger.
Right.
And that's a lot to ask of an individual team coming in.
Yeah, it's most. Let's see what Tap says there. Most of the new fans have no idea of Williams' history, and I get that. But Williams does still have history there, and iconic. And look, at the end of the day, F1, for as much as they like to kind of progress and do things that way, they're still kind of old school in that sense that they like their history. They like, they've got a little bit of that old school mentality as well, right? Where they don't want to change certain things. So I think that Williams name still holds weight in F1. And for the new fans, yeah, they don't know jack about it. So
yeah, but so the thing is, though, it's not Williams anymore. It's just the name. So like what I honestly think as the further away we get from the Williams family running it, the less weight it's going to carry. I think it will die eventually.
Fair enough.
There have been other iconic brands that have gone and frankly come back. Obviously, a person's name is probably not going to come back, but
yeah. Jack, although while I agree with you, I don't think it'll happen right away. I think at the beginning, you'll get a lot of excitement around the name Andretti, even though a lot of F1, fans and they know the Andretti name already. I think it'll still bring some excitement initially. And then you just build on that. And then at that point, it doesn't matter. Because right now, if I'm sure there's a lot of teams that started off that way, right? Where it brought a lot of excitement to the team. And then after a while, you just got to be competitive. If not, you're going to be out anyways, and the Andretti name won't be around much longer either. So I think at the end of the day, it's all about
well, that's why I
what
think
they're going to do and how much money.
Well, that's why I think in particular, if there's an opportunity to buy a team like AlphaTauri, that would be probably the best value add because you're taking a team right now that is not competing to you. Because even like Williams, like as much as they're terrible. Right. Their end goal as a team is still to win.
Of course.
Right now, that's not realistic right now like it was 15 years ago. But that is the goal of the team. That's the goal of every team on the grid. They understand there's incremental steps. So if you're like at the back, like, can we finish midfield? But then the next step from that is, can we get to the top?
Right.
Right. First, we want to be at the top of the back. Then you want to be at the top of the midfield. Then you want to be at the top of the top. Right. And AlphaTauri is the only team that does not have that goal. True. Their goal is to support another team. And it's bizarre, and they should go. And that if you put in a real team in there, especially someone like Andrew is going to pour money in, and maybe even really try to compete, that is a win for Formula One. Period. To have 10 teams actually trying to win.
I agree.
And I know I'm always on my soapbox about this, but having a team out there whose sole purpose is to support another team, it cheapens the sport.
I get it. I totally get it.
And I don't think Red Bull would even notice at this point. They're so dominant. And basically, AlphaTauri is, well, it used to be really important for us where they bleed drivers in. Well, I think so many young drivers hit the ground running at Red Bull. Because any other team has to have them make mistakes in their car. They let them do it at AlphaTauri.
Right. True.
But that's kind of gone now. And it's I don't think it really serves that much of a purpose for Red Bull anymore either. It's outlived its usefulness.
Yeah. All right, get off your box there, Vish. All right, get off the box. Two quick things before we get into the 2023 calendar. Just two quick items. Porsche's out. Out of their potential partnership with Red Bull, for one reason or another.
Well, it looks like Red Bull just would not. So they thought they were going in. I think he already did, Jack. I think he already did.
What happened?
USF1.
Oh.
It was for those that aren't familiar, it was an attempted start of an American branded team that never actually fielded a car.
Oh, that's good.
Anyway, so Red Bull, so Porsche thought they were negotiating as a 50-50 partner, and then Red Bull basically just backed out of everything. So they were left holding the bag. There was a deadline either end of last week, beginning of this week, where if you wanted to come into the next set of regulations and have an opportunity to shape them, and all you had to sign onto the agreement. And it was right before that Red Bull basically Alonso'd them. So they could either sign onto the agreement without even having a team to work with, or just decide not to come into the sport. They said, forget this. So they're gone. They're not coming into Formula One.
Right. We'll see, but Audi
is. Which I guess, so Red Bull's still planning on building their own engines. Thoughts on that?
That could be tricky, right? Down the road. I mean, right now they still do. I guess they still work. I know it's a Red Bull powertrain, but I mean Honda's still involved with them. And I know that Honda mentioned that they were pulling out, and then they're going to come back in at some point. That could be potentially tricky, though. It could be a tricky situation for them, because if they don't get it right, they could have some issues down the road, right? They could drop, and it's tough to see that, because they are full of so many great people over there at Red Bull as far as engineers are concerned, and
but they don't make engines,
but and they don't, but it could be a big issue for them down the road. I'm not saying maybe the next year or two, but
they're using, so like you said, it's called Red Bull powertrain right now, but it's the Honda engine.
Correct.
Honda pulled out of the sport mid last year. These new engine regulations have been coming for several years. They'd already developed the engine for this generation. So that exactly what Fern.
I agree. I agree.
Fern saying so they had developed that engine for this generation. Honda's still supporting them, so they're using the Honda engine. 2026 is a completely different regulation. Someone's got to build that engine, and unless maybe Honda will build it for them, I don't know. But otherwise, they're building it themselves. They're not an engine manufacturer.
They better squeeze out everything that they got these last
So right now they're driving everything but the label for a Honda engine.
Right.
And it was developed fully by Honda Motorsports, which is one of the leading engine motorsport companies. And then they pulled out like in the middle of last year, and like, we're not going to support engines. And Red Bull negotiated to still get these engines and get support from the same engineers that built it for the next several years. So they're basically running Red Bull engines that are exactly as if they were still using Hondas.
Right.
Now that's going to change in 2026, unless Honda's developing new engines for them or something. Which they probably aren't, because otherwise they wouldn't have been talking to Porsche. So
yeah, that's going to be
interesting times.
Interesting
times. Yeah.
A lot of silly season stuff still going.
As Fernie said, it could be a bad move. We'll see.
It could have been. Well, it doesn't matter if nobody else can, get it together either. But
I mean, this is something we would see as a problem 3 or 4 years from now when the new engine regulations come in.
Right. It'll be interesting to see what they do with those.
You can't even win without Michael Massey cheating. What are you talking
about? So real quick, here is the 2023 F1 calendar, Formula One calendar. And just a quick side note on that, Monaco did extend their contract through 2025. So
what are your thoughts on that?
I really don't care for Monaco.
That track sucks.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm worried this week. That car, I definitely would have. I mean, that's
it's a one-car track. It's a one-car track, right? Like, there's no passing. Side by side is tough because
it was always
narrow,
bad. It was always bad, but the fact that the cars keep getting bigger, it's just gotten progressively worse. Like, this is not drivable now. It is. It's terrible. It's a boring race. It's not interesting. Yeah, and the thing is because it's on the streets, because there's no room there. Like at a normal place, they would all right. Well, let's make the track wider. You can't do it. Yeah. So it's just eventually the cars keep getting bigger. It's going to be literally undrivable because it like won't fit some of the. I think it's just a terrible race. And as much as like, I'm probably also bitter just because we got crap for having a race in Miami, which as you can see on the screen is back May 7th, baby. But like, and then you go to this like principality and throw a bunch of yacht parties and then parade around in a circle because no one can pass. And you're like, this is the greatest spec. I'm like, this sucks. So I would rather, frankly, if they're going to get rid of races, I'll put an asterisk by it. Definitely great they got rid of Russia. That was choice one, so that's gone.
Yes,
but like, I would say Monaco is near the they're in China now. And then the other one they added was Vegas, which we've talked about extensively on the show.
We should spin a globe and like close our eyes and then like just touch it. And wherever we land, I think we should go to the Grand Prix if there's one around there. What do you think?
It sounds like an off-season thing. Maybe we'll put it on the Wheel of Doom we use for the Kane show and spin it. Yeah. And we'll see what comes up.
Jack and Fernie have to come with us, so.
Oh, for sure. And then as long as the United Nations is in session, maybe we can get Moni to come too.
Right, exactly.
By the way, we're not joking. She's actually covering the UN.
She really is. She really is. So Jack, Fern, Evan, whoever's out there, we should definitely plan a trip for one.
Oh, I know, Fernie. I think I got that joke in now. After Leclerc DNFs at Singapore, my joke is over.
Oh God!
I had to use it while I could.
All right, guys. So
I would argue Jackie's not making choices. No one making choices dresses like that.
Yeah, it's just yeah, no kidding, for real, man. Which one is the one that's maybe top two that are kind of the most interesting to you out of this for the 2023 calendar, Fish?
I mean, it's a lot of the same tracks. Definitely. I mean, China, they used to race at, so we're going back to a track we've seen. Obviously, Vegas is like, let's see what happens there. That's going to be nuts. I'm hoping that the traffic is, the track itself has a layout that's actually good because they should have enough room to hopefully build a track that has overtaking and stuff. So those two kind of stand out. I mean, everything else we kind of see, so it's nothing else is new here. I mean, seriously though, let's go back to Monaco. Okay, if you're gonna kill a race off of looking at this list here, I mean, that's got to be. Actually, Saudi Arabia won.
Saudi Arabia
for all sorts of reasons, but in terms of actual just the track, and actually Saudi Arabia won still because it's gonna kill someone eventually. Track is not safe.
That's right.
I think Monaco is 2.
Yeah, I would have to.
No, Australia's there, Fernie. It's third race.
Australia's there. China's there.
Yeah, the only changes are Russia out. It was planned and then not done this year, and China and Vegas in. No other changes.
I think we've got a trip to Vegas in the works for 2023. The only problem is that it lands like the weekend of Thanksgiving. So
yeah, and we're gonna be playing for the ACC championship game. These things.
True. Yeah, that's gonna be
Canes
tough.
Canes eat first.
I don't know. Should we go to Mexico then?
I think we should go. Should we? All right, we're gonna spin the wheel. We should definitely go to one of these races when the Canes are not in season.
Yeah, so it's gonna have to be a summer race, right?
Yeah, we can hit up it. We can hit up Europe.
We can go to Canada. We can go to Montreal. It's right there.
Oh yeah, that's an easy one actually. Right? We can do that one.
Go to Montreal. Well, I mean, once they lift some certain restrictions. But anyways, Canada would be cool. Barcelona. Let's go. Listen, my birthday actually lands. My birthday lands in Miami. It's a Miami one is my birthday, but June is actually a good month as well. Canada, Barcelona. So I'd be down. What did Fern say there? Barcelona is easy to get to and fun. Yeah. Hey man, I've been wanting to go to Spain for so long for my birthday. So maybe we'll make it a race and a birthday celebration. And Fern and Jack gotta go. Oh, here we go with the beefs again. What's wrong with you?
No. He's not beefing with us. He's beefing with Europeans.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. What's going on? I was like, Jack.
Jack's on our side, damn it. I agree with what Jack said.
I agree as well.
But also,
you hit everything on the head there.
Just to add to that, like the U.S. is by itself geographically bigger and more diverse than
we're doing it for sure. Hold on,
time out. What is this? We're going first class?
Yeah. There's no doubt. Yeah, I'm not traveling into Europe without that. That's for sure, 100%.
I only travel first class. What are we talking about?
We're hitting that up, Tap. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it for sure. Very cool.
Wait, you know what? We could do some soccer while we're there too, because I'm pretty sure the league is going to run long because the World Cup's in the middle of the season.
Oh man,
so it'll still be going. We can go watch Real Madrid play too.
Hell yeah.
This is coming together.
This is coming together. Awesome, Jack. You're invited too, man. As long as you bring your beefs with you. All right. As long as you bring your beefs.
Jack's coming in from the West Coast, if I remember correctly, so he's got a longer trip. But
that's all right. We'll meet up there, man. No big deal. Next week we've got Singapore. Finally, we get to preview the Singapore GP as racing gets back underway. See what that midfield and actually it's what 2 to 5 does now, because I think that's really where the action is going to be. Is
and
how can 2 to 5 shape up?
Yeah, and this is not a track that Red Bulls will just pull away from everyone at. So this should be an interesting one. This is not a high speed one. Mercedes should be somewhat competitive here. Ferrari should be more competitive. So we might have a better overall race here than we've had at Monza or Spa, where the Red Bull is just too powerful and blows everyone away. You came off mute, but I think when you were pounding on the table, something went wrong.
Is that better?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, all right. So I'll answer this question really quick before we leave. Any news on the Miami F1 presale dates or secret links? So we got an email to renew our tickets for last year. We decided not to because they wanted the full, 15, 20K up front. So in typical fashion, Miami is out of their GD mind. So we're probably going to go, but I think we're going to do things a little different this time around. So we'll keep you guys in the loop on what we do. But yeah, I don't think pre-sale dates have come up yet or links at all. So make sure you guys just follow up with F1 Miami and see what happens there. Next Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Singapore GP preview, and then of course we'll do our qualifying session. Pre-race our post-race show, and we'll be tweeting live for qualifying and some FP1 if we can. So make sure you keep it locked on Twitter at F1_5 reasons for that. Every Wednesday night here, 9 p.m. on the 5 Reasons Sports Network YouTube channel. Yeah, friends crying they won't have a race. When they can drive 7 hours, so it's in the race.
Yeah, it was the point I was making earlier about how big the United States is. Like if you put a race in Vegas, a race in Texas, and a race in Miami, we're talking about 3 different time zones, 3 different parts of the country. Like this is totally different areas just because the United States is so big. I mean, you have races in Europe in 3 different countries that are a lot closer to each other and a lot more similar than those 3 races. So it's just BS.
Yeah, right. And that's right. I forgot that they took the French Grand Prix.
Because they don't have a good track there. Paul Ricard sucks. They used to race at Magny-Cours. It's terrible too. They don't have a good track.
I'm sure they'll come back eventually with a better track, but for now, 24 races is good with me. But this is fluid. F1 is a very fluid.
They can always get rid of Monaco. Like if they want to get rid of that and put a French GP back in, I'm all
for it. Vish, thanks a lot. Appreciate it for coming on. Next Wednesday night, again, 9 p.m. Singapore GP preview and much more info on the latest Formula One news. So for now, we'll see you guys next Wednesday and talk to you soon, man. Adios.
See ya.